Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Surfer's Journey. In today's episode, I'm going to answer the question that many of you have been asking, and that is, how long does it take to actually learn how to surf? Is it 8 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 25 minutes? Months? Years? Whatever. And I'm talking about how long does it take to actually be able to learn how to pop up, stand up, and ride a wave. So to achieve this, I've got one of my mates who's never surfed before. And I'm going to get him to come surfing with me to see how long it takes him to learn how to surf. And guys, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel now so you can stay up to date with all of my latest videos and tutorials. But for now, let's get into today's lesson of the week. This is my mate Stu. He's never surfed before. He's 35 years old and he's the perfect candidate for this video. So to start the session off, I got Stu to trace the surfboard. And this is going to be beneficial so we could practice his pop-up on the beach before we went out into the surf. I find this technique really beneficial for people who are learning how to surf and even people who have surfed before, but they're still working on their beginner level skills like the pop-up. It gives you the opportunity to make sure that your feet are landing in the right space. Are they wide enough? Are they centered in the middle of the board? How's my stance looking? Am I standing too tall or should I squat down a little bit more? Now obviously when you're learning to surf, it's really important that you've got an appropriate board for you. Stu's about 5'9", 5'10", and weighs about 80 kilos. So this 8-foot long board is perfect for him to learn on. Once we made it out into the surf, we only needed to be in that waist deep water. We spent a little bit of time getting Stu comfortable on the board so he could find his perfect paddling position. And once he found that, it was time for him to catch some waves on his belly. And when it came time for Stu to have a crack at popping up, initially he was a bit slow with the pop-up, but once he started to be more explosive, he got there. And it was only 6 waves for him to be able to actually surf. So we're talking about no more than 15 minutes and he was up and riding. So what was it about my friend Stu that meant he could learn how to surf so quickly? Well, there's a few things that I want to chat about. One of these is that Stu has an adequate level of fitness. He's fit, he's strong, and he's able to paddle and pop up with ease. And the other thing is that he has a background of skating. So he's comfortable being in his goofy stance, having one foot in front of the other, and he's used to that weight transfer from heel to toe and front leg to back leg. That makes a big difference for people when they're learning how to surf. I've helped other people learn how to surf that have never skated before or anything like that. No snowboarding, no skimboarding, no sport where they've had to have one foot in front of the other. And because of that, they've really struggled to learn how to stand up and get used to that position, let alone be on an unstable object like a surfboard, makes it a lot harder. So having a background of skating or any sport that allows you to be in your goofy or natural stance will help you a lot when it actually comes to learning how to surf. Let's discuss some of the things that Stu did really well. You can see that Stu positions himself on the board well in advance of that wave actually getting to him. That gives him time to get into position, start getting some speed up on the board, which means that he's ready to catch that wave when it comes. Another thing Stu did really well is that when he stood up, he was quite relaxed. You can see he had slightly bent knees, but he was quite relaxed. Stu also did a great job at making sure that he adjusted his paddling speed. So when he hopped on the board and started to get into position for the upcoming wave, he was paddling at about 60% of his max effort. But then when he wanted to catch the wave as it was right on him, he then upped the ante to 90% plus. And this is really important to know. If you paddle around everywhere at 90+%, then you're going to get really tired really quickly. But by adjusting your effort, you'll be able to conserve energy and catch more waves because of it. Stu's positioning on the surfboard was something that took some time to get right. Here we can see that he was slightly off center and slightly too far forward. And in this example, you can see he was a little bit too far forward again and he almost nosedived. But with practice, Stu found out the perfect place for him to be. Now, obviously, for Stu to get to that point where he could stand up and ride a wave, there was a few things that happened along the way that he had to overcome to get there. And one of those things was taking off too slow. You can see that in some cases his pop-up was a little bit slower, and Stu said later that that was really hard for him to get up. Being explosive made it heaps easier. Another lesson that Stu learned was how he placed his feet. Now in this example you can see that his foot is pretty much facing straight. Well, this gives you very limited balance and control. You want your foot to be on about a 45-degree angle, sometimes even a little bit less, to give you more control. And you want the stringer to go straight through the middle. If it's off center, it's going to make you fall. Another lesson with foot placement was how far back or how far forward on the board you actually stood up. In that example, Stu was too far back, which meant that the nose of the board lifted up in the air, and then consequently all his weight was at the back of the board, forcing him to fall off the back of that wave. Another lesson, which thankfully wasn't learned the hard way, was that when you fall off a board, you have to be careful. Here you can see the board shot up high in the sky. And sometimes if you were underwater and were coming back up, that board could hit you on the head and really hurt you. So sometimes it pays to cover your head when you do fall off your board. So what will Stu work on next time? Well, for Stu it's going to be about catching more unbroken waves like this, but trying to pop up a bit faster so that he can take off and ride down the face of the wave. And then as time goes on, catching those waves on an angle before they've even broken, which is easier again. And then you get to ride along the wave instead of going straight. These are things that Stu can work on, and I'm sure he will achieve them next time we go surfing. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. I hope that now you have a better understanding of what to expect when you start learning how to surf, and have a realistic expectation of how long it's going to take you to potentially get up and ride your first wave. Remember to like the video and comment below to let me know what other videos you'd like to see. Cheers guys, catch you in the water.